thing. Okay, so what is Patent Blaster? I made this game about 2.5 years ago, and at the time I was already doing a lot of kind of prototyping and development with Java. But I was using really kind of old-style Java graphics, and so I wanted to make. So I was starting to look into actually using OpenGL to draw graphics, like you should, like actually using the 3D, the graphics card in your computer properly. And I started building this kind of simplified engine on top of some other stuff, and it was like, well, this is great, but I have no idea if this is actually the right thing to build. I need some kind of small project to try this all out. And at the same time, I find out about the weird hilarity of US patent drawings. So the thing is that when you submit a patent in the United States, it always has to have a drawing going with it, because originally like, the idea with the patent was like you invent some kind of clever new machine, and then you want to be granted a patent on this clever new machine. So it would be like a nice rendering of like what gears and flanges or whatever this machine used. And in modern days, the problem is most patents are just bullshit. They're just stupid ideas. They're just defensive patents. They're just random garbage, because you can patent such a wide range of stuff now. And you have a lot of patents which aren't really for physical things, they're just for vague ideas, often they're far too general and so on. And the result of that is that the drawings often become really absurd. They've really gone down in quality because patents have really gone up in quantity by orders of magnitude, and they've also become kind of weird and vague because a lot of the time they're kind of weird and vague patents. And these patents were collected in a Tumblr which I saw at the time, of kind of particularly weird drawings, and this inspired me to basically make a weird game based on this kind of weird kind of outsider art almost. And so the theme of the whole thing is the weirdness of the patent system, but to be honest, the actual gameplay has very little to do with that. Patent Blaster is really about procedural generation and kind of particle effects and stuff like that. So I'm just going to show you what it actually plays like. Start the game. You can get this game, by the way, it's open source and free by now, so just as a spoiler, it did incredibly badly commercially. I sold like 5 copies, and eventually for a variety of reasons it became open source, so you can just download it and try it. I will put a link into the description of the video later. Okay, so this is how you start out the game. You choose one of 4 kind of avatars that you can play, and you can see their stats, and they basically have randomly generated stats and abilities, and especially weapons. So this one's quite nice, 1971 in poetry, which is a fire weapon. It fires fairly slowly, but it's a homing swarm, which is pretty neat. So let's choose this guy. Okay, here we are. Controls are pretty much as you'd expect. It's WASD or arrows. You use the mouse to aim and shoot, or you can just hit space and it auto targets. And here are the enemies. So the enemies are also randomly generated and have a whole bunch of different abilities. So, and right now we're in level 1, so they're pretty much harmless. So let's kill them. Bang. So that's what the homing swarm looks like. It just sends out a whole bunch of little shots that can home in on the target. And at the end of each level, there is a boss, which is kind of tougher than the others. So again, because we're talking level 1 here, the boss is not actually tough. And we picked up a boss's weapon, so we now have a second weapon, which is a kind of steel type grenade. So the game has a kind of elemental damage system. There's fire, ice, steel, acid, cursed and blessed, which have different kind of properties. So right now we have fire for our weapon, and that means that it can set vulnerable enemies on fire, which is pretty handy, so you only need to damage the part to end and they burn the rest of the way. And now we get to choose one of 4 upgrades that we want for the next level. I'm gonna choose that I want ethics, which increases increases my resistance to ice damage, so I'll take less damage from ice weapons. Boing. Yeah, so these are some cursed books that emit particles of cursedness. It's a pretty bad idea to get too close to them, so I don't. Here's a jar full of bees, so there's kind of environmental obstacles slash potential damage causes which you can use if you know how. Okay, so again this was fairly easy. We now have the bonus for increasing our speed. Now we do need to nab that upgrade there, so we just need to go over there next to the cursed book. It just cursed us a bit, but it's fine, the level is over. So that's kind of how the game works. So basically it's very simple. You just go through from room to room and you shoot stuff and you try to find cool weapons that are effective. And like really where the game kind of shines, where it has a lot of replayability, is in the sheer number of combinations you get with weapons, sheer number of effects you get with enemies. They can explode, they can they can be on fire, they can give birth to smaller enemies, they can resurrect, morph into new monsters, and so on and so on. So here we're just going to increase our hit points. So yeah, I made this game over the course of a few months back in 2013. And basically I started out making this just a kind of as a testing platform for the graphics engine I was making, which is roughly the same one actually that Airships is based on. But then I was like, hey, okay, I've got this game and it's actually quite fun. Why don't I actually finish this? Okay, so this guy's just come back to life. We can grab his resurrection ability, then shoot him down. Okay. So I was like, hey, why don't I actually finish this game completely? Because I have no real experience in actually... Oops, yeah, so these guys explode. I have no real experience in actually releasing a game and finishing it and marketing it and selling it. And I have all of these games that I want to make, and it would be good to get some quick experience. And so that's what I did. I kind of polished it up, I finished it, and I actually started selling it through a bunch of different ways. And it was very educational, and of course when someone says X was very educational, what they mean is it was an utter failure. And I mean, commercially, as I said, it was. I basically sold no copies of this. At one point I had literally more reviews of the game than I had sold copies. And to be fair, in terms of kind of so yeah, this guy keeps on resurrecting, and oh, it's also making small baby bears, as you can see. No, it's frozen me, so I'm gonna die. Yep, but it's fine. I too can resurrect. So let's just actually win this fight. Yep. No, I'm gonna lose the fight. Never mind. So yeah. Oh no, we have not resurrect. Come on, stupid bear thing. Problem is, one of its shots is good enough to freeze me. Yeah, okay, got it now. So yeah, ice weapons freeze their targets, which is pretty nasty. Yeah, the game was successful in the sense of figuring out kind of how to talk to people in the press and things like that. and I actually really enjoy playing it. It's because of the whole kind of splashy, explodey particle effect things. It's a great game if you want to kind of just blow some stuff up for 5 minutes, which is basically what I use it for. I use it as a break game. Yeah, so the question is, of course, why did it fail commercially? And I think there's a whole bunch of reasons you can point to. One is, well, it's not visually appealing, right? It doesn't look pretty. That was intentional. Like, you know, Airships looks certainly prettier than this, and here was kind of going for an intentionally ugly look. Like, the wallpaper is ugly, the colors are mismatched, everything's kind of grungy and unpleasant, and the you know, all the characters are kind of weird misshapen drawings, and that was intentional to kind of bring across the kind of, I guess, moral sludginess of the whole patent concept. But the thing is, you know, it's all very nice having this high concept, but what it actually means in practice is that your game looks awful. Like this kind of sludgy graphics, at the moment you scale it down a little bit for a screenshot, a thumbnail, it just becomes a mess, right? So, first most obvious reason, the game looks bad, and so no one really looked at it because it looks bad. And the second one is, while it's a fun kind of game, well, it's a fun game to play, I think, it's also a kind of game experience which, at least in its basics, you can get pretty much anywhere, right? If you just want a side-scrolling shooty typey thingy, there's like a billion free Flash games that let you do that, and some of those have really a very high level of polish, basically higher polish than this does, really. So I was sort of hoping it would become kind of a weird cult game. Cult has failed to materialize, and I think I also kind of thought, well, you know, what's the relationship in between quality and sales? This is a fairly simple game, I'm going to sell it for relatively little money, and some people will like it and they will pick it up, and in practice basically no one bought it. And well, the answer is, like, if your game is perceived to be worse than something that you can get for free, then you know, no one's actually going to buy it, no matter how cheap it is. And of course that's sort of a thing with indie games in general. You know, I'm not going to say, I don't want to get into a question of are indie games low quality or something. It's more, well, they tend to be low budget, so there's going to be less polish or less content or whatever, and that makes it quite hard for them to really become stand out amongst other games, right? So yeah, with Airships, really, I'm kind of trying to apply the lessons learned from this. So I'm making a rather bigger game. I'm making a game which has a less kind of abstruse concept. Like, you build airships and you like do fights with them. You know, it sounds cool. I'm making a game with pretty graphics rather than abstract ones, and I'm just spending a whole lot more time on it and involving the community more in terms of actually developing it. So yeah, hopefully in the end what comes out is, well, I mean, I already know Airships has sold, you know, multiple thousands of copies in early access, so evidently it is rather a more popular game than Patent Blaster. But like, my point is that, okay, Patent Blaster took maybe from start to finish. Right now it took maybe a fifth of the time of how much time Airships is taking right now. And you might say, wait, a fifth of the time, that much? This is barely a game, but I mean, polish takes a long time, right? So, and it made nowhere near a fifth of the amount of sales. So there's a, you know, beware, there is a non-linear relationship in between amount of time put in and amount of sales. And of course, I'm not saying that like the answer hence is to just go away and work on one game for 50 years and then go, hey, I made a game, I worked on it for 50 years, because unless it's Wolf Fortress, that probably doesn't work. Okay, so some more details about the game. This type of weapon is particularly entertaining. It's a flamethrower. And it's fun, it's not very tactically sensible because, yeah, right now I'm fighting against all of these enemies which are exploding and becoming zombies and exploding again. So yeah, explode, become zombie, which also changes the type of the weapon to you acid, and explode again. And that's a pretty annoying kind of enemy because you can really end up in a massive acid battle. So yeah, just kind of doing hit and run attacks with my flamethrower. So okay, how are the weapons randomly generated? Basically, you know, it picks a type. Like, is it a flamethrower? Is it just a straight shot? Is it a homing weapon, and so on? It picks a bunch of modifiers. It picks a fire rate and an accuracy, and then on the basis of all of those numbers, it basically has a quality metric. And that quality metric is then used to figure out how much damage the weapon does. So basically, the fancier the weapon is, the more accurate and long range, and if it has more kind of cool extra abilities, like being able to pierce through walls and so on, it does less damage. Now I'm being attacked by tiny versions of myself. So every 5 levels you meet a kind of variation of yourself, like a small one, a color flipped one, a big one, and so on. So you can actually kind of evolve a weapon that you have, because if you're like, hey, I have this flamethrower, but I'd like an ice thrower instead, well, if you enter the right level with your flamethrower equipped, then your opponent, your clone, will in fact have an ice thrower, and maybe you can get that. And maybe you're like a giant ice thrower, well, just fight against your giant clone with your ice thrower, and then you might be able to get a giant ice thrower. So you can kind of steer what kind of weapons you'd like. And I mean, of course, despite the quality metrics, some weapons are much better than others. It's kind of your job to figure out which ones are good and which ones to use in what situation, like you know, short range, long range, homed, and so on. That's why you have this whole arsenal of weapons you pick up for different reasons. And as you can see, gameplay wise, this is this effect, right? I'm playing this on like hard mode, and hard mode is really quite hard, but being the developer, I sort of know how the AI works, so I'm kind of dancing around the ouch. Well, that was heuristic. Dancing around the enemy, evading their attacks. Okay, let's add the ability to fly. And then I died. Okay, so this is the thing with hard mode. Actually, let's switch back to hover. Hovering is much better. The problem with hard mode is that it's already really hard, and your enemies kind of get exponentially more powerful. So you have to figure out how to become exponentially more powerful yourself. Yes, it's an acid lightsaber. So yeah, that is sort of the tale of my first foray into game development, and that's not actually true. I made a game before Patent Blaster. It was an Asteroids clone. I made it when I was 17, and if I can actually find a copy of it somewhere, I might play it on Twitch as well at some point. Yeah, definitely just probably gonna die pretty soon now. So I'm just picking the upgrades right now which give me more hit points, because at this point really my enemies are becoming much stronger, and so I need a big buffer of hit points to not die. So as you might have noticed, like if you get hurt, if I let myself get hurt here, no, never mind. Come on, hurt me, hurt me. No. If you let yourself get hurt, then you can see that little white bar going up, and that's basically how long you have to wait and not be hurt again until regeneration kicks in, and this is actually something that can be sped up, which is pretty useful. Yeah, so right like at the start you fight against relatively vanilla enemies, but like by the time you're like level 14 or something, it tends to be kind of everything has some kind of weird special ability. They all morph and mutate and steal and or on fire or explode or something, and you have to be pretty careful. Yeah. See, these guys they resurrect, and then once they've resurrected they turn into a final form, which is this head, which is pretty tough. Stupid head. And then that one resurrects again, so it's just, they're just really there to be really irritating towards you. Come on guys, why don't you all die? Okay, got them now. So yeah, if you want to try it out, I will put up a link to it. As I said, I have a fondness for it, certainly in terms of it being kind of a fun break game. And yeah, I hope you found this vaguely entertaining. And yeah, so next up is going to be a normal game development stream, which is going to be on Wednesday at a different time than this. I've kind of staggered the times to also try and figure out at what times people actually want to see things. Yeah, and next week I'm going to look at either another game prototype or play some kind of game someone else has made and kind of go on a bit about its design and what I like about it and what I don't. So yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Do let me know if you have any feedback. As always, like I'm just sort of going, what's a Twitch? How do I stream? I don't know if this is comprehensible. So do let me know if you have suggestions for improvement. And for now, I bid you goodbye.